I don't even know where to begin with how insane this administration is. Half the stuff that they do doesn't even make like financial sense. I guess we got Jimmy Kimmel back though, so there's that. Isn't all of this inherently unsustainable? It is. But what are you supposed to do but sustain? It's not like people could just like pack up and leave. When things are unsustainable, you have no other option but to sustain. Anyway, European powers. Several countries are formally recognizing Palestine as a state. This is a conditional statehood recognition as intended, as announced ahead of time.
We are acting to keep alive the possibility of peace and a two-state solution.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu unequivocal in his rejection, saying there will be no Palestinian state, adding bluntly, it will not happen. President Trump, one of Netanyahu's strongest allies, made clear last week in a meeting with Britain's Prime Minister he opposes such a move.
The question of recognition needs to be seen, and so it's part of that overall package.
So I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score. One of our few disagreements, actually.
Chanting.
Italy cautious on Palestinian recognition as protests grow. By the way, this is a nationwide general strike that has been struck in the state of Italy. For those of you who don't understand, there is a massive initiative in Italy. There are countries in Europe. These are the last remaining strongholds for Israel's support, and they're quite significant, okay? Remember, Western nations are the only countries that still defend Israel unconditionally. They offer material support, they offer political cover, but the populations are very frustrated. The populations want no more. They recognize that Israel is doing a genocide, just as the UN has declared it as well. And I think we are reaching a boiling point. I think we are officially reaching a boiling point with respect to how much Western populations will cave, capitulate, and concede to Israel's demands. I think we're there, okay? It's becoming somewhat of a chain reaction, yes. Now, of course, the only country that will hold out, the last holdout will always be America and also Germany, even if it's a symbolic gesture. The reason why I do not shit on this kind of stuff as much is because even symbolic gestures are meaningful because it expands the permission structure greatly. America and Germany and all of the other, ironically enough, Axis and Axis adjacent powers are the last holdouts. And it's not even the populations that are the holdouts here. It's the actual governments that are the holdouts. Italy being one of the countries that is refusing to move the needle. Italians, however, are very much against this. The Italian government's lack of recognition does not change the reality that the Italian population is very frustrated. Italy has secured a general strike for Palestine. Things have been boiling for a while throughout this year. Maria Luisa Fantapie reports throughout this year, but especially since the summer, signs of support for Gaza have been everywhere from big cities to remote rural villages with just hundreds of residents. Let me say that that all the support I've witnessed this year insofar has been peaceful. People across generations / class, even some mainstream TV presenters openly and genuinely stood in solidarity with the people of Gaza. Yet inaction prevailed in politics. Result was the deepening of a fracture between society and the political class, and anti-establishment feelings on the rise, a long-standing trait of this country. And this is not just exclusive to Italy. This is what I kept repeating over and over again. To the Western leaders of liberal capitalist democracies, if you want to maintain the aesthetics of a liberal capitalist democracy that defends human rights, you cannot continue unconditionally supporting Israel, because the populations are not only going to, one, at first question this allegiance that you have to Israel, but then they're going to start questioning whether there is a real democratic process at all. Now, of course, there is no real democratic process, let's be real, especially as it pertains to foreign policy. These are NATO countries, obviously, so they are completely under the directive of the United States and are mere vassals for imperial interests. Having said that, obviously, that is going to be a very frustrating reality to come to terms with for the Italian population, for the German population, for the French population, and the population of every European capital. And therefore, they are going to inevitably revolt. This is a much more peaceful outcome. This is a much more peaceful demand to the European leadership to take action on their own, to sever the ties that they have with the United States of America. And that is precisely the reason why many of the European countries are at least offering aesthetic conciliatory messages to the pro-Palestinian crowd. State recognition, conditional state recognition is obviously one of those instances. But of course, any kind of capitulation or any kind of listening to the demands of the crowd here, democracy taking place, is going to greatly expand the permission structure for more and more reasonable demands to also be heard. We are there now. Speaking of which, let's take a look at what Italy is saying and doing.
Chanting, "We're all Palestinians and stop genocide." Thousands of Italians gathered in central Rome in just one of the grassroots protests, blockades, or strike actions.
Brings a fucking tear to my eye, man. What an incredible sight. What an incredible fucking sight, dude. This is the beauty of labor, okay? Remember, this is the beauty of labor militancy. This is the beauty of union organizing. Unions have so much power, not only in making demands that immediately improve their standing in the workplace, but also demands from the government when the government refuses to act. It took 2 years. I cannot believe I'm seeing this. I cannot believe I am seeing this with my own 2 fucking eyes. Oh my Lord.
Taking place in 80 cities across Italy Monday, denouncing the war in Gaza. Transport services and a number of schools faced disruption amid the strikes. And striking dock workers blocked access roads to ports in Livorno and Genoa.
Why am I here? Because we must be here. Because we're human beings. And that's what matters.
How do you feel? How do you maintain hope? I'm feeling very black-pilled lately. If you can't see hope in this situation, then you have not been aware of the overall lack of interest in this cause for 80 plus years from Western Europe. Okay, that's it. As someone who has been a political commentator for like 12 years now, in my professional career, I never thought that I would ever see the day when these things would happen. Okay, this is an opportunity for hope. This is things changing in a totally different direction. What a spectacular show of force. Incredible. And before you say at what price, though, and I totally understand that, but it's a disservice to those who have been martyred by the state of Israel, the criminal entity of Israel. And it is a disservice to those who remain if you get nihilistic, if you get pessimistic in this moment. Yeah, as Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it is done.
Beyond party politics, we must remain human. How can anyone remain indifferent to what's happening?
The Palestinian people continue to teach us yet another lesson in dignity and resilience. We learn from them and try to do our part.
Protesters say they're seeking to prevent Italy from being used as a staging post for the transfer of arms and other supplies to Israel. They're also calling for sanctions against Israel.
I think that civil society, students, workers, teachers, ordinary people right now are standing in for an institutional political system which even at the European level is timid, to say the least.
Transport Minister Matteo Salvini played down the impact of the protests that he said were organised by a far-left union group. Giorgia Meloni's right-wing Italian government is a traditional supporter of Israel, and although unease has grown over its relentless military campaign in Gaza, Rome has expressed reluctance about implementing the European Union's proposed trade sanctions. And while the majority of European countries now recognise a Palestinian state,
dude, this is, oh my God, how amazing, how fucking amazing. I can't imagine what that world would look like if the European Union completely implemented trade sanctions. Oh my Lord. Oh, that's too much hope. I'm going to overdose on copium and hopium. Oh, these things take time. Okay, these things take time. It takes a lot for people to get out and protest like this. Okay. This is a logistical nightmare when you think about it. And the fact that they pulled it off is spectacular. Once the European continent makes a decision like this, it makes it even more difficult for America to continue along on this trajectory. It's just amazing, dude. It's amazing. This is another state broadcaster. Italy state-owned TG3 broke from the government line, openly supporting the September 22nd Gaza strike and denouncing civilian killings and mass deportations by Israel. The move marks a rare moment of editorial independence for RAI, as the right-wing pro-Israel government usually controls its messaging and resists EU pressure on Gaza. To say goodbye, we read you a press release from our CDR. The journalists of TG3 share the reasons for today's general outcry in support of the population in Gaza, subjected to military occupation, a daily massacre of civilians, health workers and journalists, and mass deportations carried out by the Israeli government. But we clearly dissociate ourselves from today's violence. The choice to work was due to the need to give visibility to the ongoing demonstrations. The 12 p.m. edition of TG3 was canceled due to the strike by the technicians in the Milan studio. Our support and solidarity goes to them and their non-journal colleagues in the editorial staff who joined the strike. This is why labor unions are so important and so fucking powerful, chat. This is why they don't want you to unionize, okay? Remember, because demonstrations aside, labor unions still have the power to strike at the heart of capital. Work stoppages mean money, okay? Work stoppages mean your boss is not making money. Capital owners are no longer able to generate profits. That's a huge problem for them. And it's a problem that they usually will try to solve militarily. That's the reason why they will go after work stoppages aggressively.